You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Nostalgia is one of the strongest forces in the human psyche and is responsible for the continued existence of some of our favorite fandoms. From the minds behind the Dole Up in Dreams podcast and Isolation Cast Voices from Quarantine, Saturday Morning Confidential takes you on a deep dive into the properties that helped influence the artists and creators of today. So whether you are a Goonie, a Gym Girl, a Digi-Destined, or you just want to return to Oz, new episodes release on Fridays bi-weekly starting January 1st of 2021, and join us on the Wednesdays after the main show for the Serial Killer Radio Hour, where we sit down with the people responsible for the toys, shows, and fandoms that you love. Now you can find Saturday Morning Confidential at certainpov.com/SMCpod or on your favorite podcast platforms. So don't forget to tune in for another deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential.
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey,
Mitch!
What up, Mitch?
Orderly Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
What up, Mitch? Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch!
What up, Mitch?
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mr. Booth! Hey, Mitch, you cool, you
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch! Hey, Mitch!
On tonight's episode of Hey Mitch, I have a very special guest, a fellow podcaster, someone who's had me on their show a couple of times. Hey Hans, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Mitch?
I have that's right. I have Hans Martin Jr. on of the Real Movie Critic versus the Cine Guy podcast.
Exactly. Yes, you got the Real Movie Critic here.
How'd you come up with that name?
You know what? I don't know if you're familiar. He is our producer guy, Addy Thomas, who's also the founder of Certain POV.
Mm-hmm.
When he wanted me to start, doing more reviews, especially more like when I started out with YouTube videos, I couldn't think of a name. It was a hard thing to think of a name. And yeah, he was like, well, how about the Real Movie Critic? And I was like, okay, that flows well. And he was telling me, yeah, because your reviews are definitely what people want, real reviews, not like other critics who sometimes don't understand the full content of things. I know more about what the people like, so kind of like, as the tagline goes, real movie reviews for ordinary people. So.
Yeah, I noticed that on your website, and that's it is refreshing. It's a way to distinguish yourself as not so stuffy, right?
Exactly. And yeah, I tend to be more open minded when it comes to certain films, and something that people can relate to. That's for sure.
So, what's the origin story behind the Real Movie Critic versus the Cine Guy?
All right, so I'm gonna start from the beginning. So when I first started to podcast, I started with Addy Thomas, and it was called Real Movie News and Reviews. That's how we started, and it was pretty much kind of like my show in a way. And we still had kind of like the same format that we have now, but with our conversation with Adi, it was like more like a sophisticated talk about films, and not too sophisticated. Obviously, we try to be goofy from here and there, but it was definitely more like a conversation, which, most podcasts are, I guess. But, Adi decided to, take a step back from podcasting in general, because he did have other shows as well that he has stopped. Well, now as we speak, he got a new podcast now, but it's not about him anymore. Nah, I still love you, Adi. But so I needed a new co-host, obviously, and so we decided to do a friend of mine that I've known for a while back home where I'm from Boston, Stephen Angulo, who literally just graduated from college. And trying to, he was actually doing some reviews himself, making videos and things of that. And he called himself the Cynic Guy. Now, how did he come up with that name? You're going to have to ask him. But we decided to, try him out, have him on, and everything worked well. And so once we decided to have him on, we decided, okay, maybe not make it real movie news, not more about me. Let's come up with a title and something that's more about us, And that's how, and as we talked with Adi, like I said, he's our producer. He he was saying, "Oh, why don't we do this? Since you guys like to, kind of banter and kind of argue a little bit, why don't you just make it kind of like the sports show, Pardon Interruption."
Yes.
And that's how we kind of based it on. And call it the Real Movie Critic versus the Cynic Guy. And so we literally started that during the pandemic, where we had more time to really revamp the show and everything. And so we started, we started this with what we called Corona Classics, because it was during the pandemic, and we were like, okay, what do we do? Movies were not coming out because the theaters were shut down. And we were like, well, let's kind of pick a theme for each week and, kind of like talk about, what movies that we watched recently, and then dive into the themes. Like, for example, one of them was about aliens, for example. And, then the next week was about sci-fi, about robots and stuff like that. And that's how we started off. And during that time, as we were still trying to find our niche about the show, it was during the time where we're like, all right, let's do a little award show, just kind of award everything that happened. And that time it was the year 2019, trying to do some honors. And then I was telling Steven, you know what? Let's have a little fun with it and start doing some impressions on the winners. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And so we did. And that's what kind of started our goofiness of the show. And I'll be honest, it's really mostly Steven with me trying to catch up, And it started off more like Steven was like an annoying little brother, and I'm like the older brother that's trying to, annoyed by him and trying to say, okay, whip him in shape and stuff like that. But, eventually, I gave in and started like, all right, let's just have some fun with that. And that's how the spoiler elevators got started, where that's where we really like to have fun. And just recently too, where an episode came out where, because Steven decided to do a little storyline, kind of like once a month. And actually, it was during one of our episodes, which you joined us, Mitch,
Yeah.
where some Oompa Loompas came and we had to defeat him in a rap battle. That was part of that little storyline that Steven started. And now we're our last episode, we kind of ended it in kind of like our own Avengers Endgame format, with everything about us, the bad impressions, with a fun story, and just us having fun, and that's the main thing about our show, is we like to have fun with this, and that became our thing as of right now. And we've been doing this for a little more than a year now. So it's been a good ride, that's for sure. But the one thing about us is that the main thing that we wanted to do is always give you the reviews up to date, kind of like journalists, and give them the latest news, the latest trailers that came out, and also the reviews of the latest films that came out that week. And that's the main thing that we try to do. and have fun with it. That's for sure.
I mean, you obviously do have fun with it, and yes, the episode that I was on, I've never had to rap battle anything before, let alone an Oompa Loompa. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and mind you, that was all Steven, but it was fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun, and that's the thing, and that's what we tell our guests is like, hey, come in, let's have some fun,
So, what is your history with movies? Why was it that you were like, I need to do a podcast about movies?
So it started off when there was a time where I used to watch movies a lot. Actually, I still wasn't a time, but still the time. And it really started when I started working at a movie theater, and obviously I got all the free movies, and especially in the summertime when I wasn't studying for college, I used to watch every single movie. And people used to come to me and be like, hey, what do you think about this movie? Is it worth it? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, check it out. Or nah, avoid this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the spark that started. And then once I, started becoming a responsible adult, that kind of declined a little bit. And but however, the theater close by where I was living, this was in Boston. They had these specials, $5 Tuesdays, and I took advantage of that. So of everything, and call me a boomer if you want, but with Facebook, I used to write like little one-line reviews on my Facebook of every film that I saw, and people were telling me, "Hey, man, you need to start a blog." And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. And so it was, I hope I got my years right. 2014 is where I started a blog. When I realized how easy it is to start one, actually. And it really is that easy. And yeah, I started writing about film reviews. And that's because Audie was a college friend of mine as well. And because of these blogs, that's how we reconnected. And this is when Audie was just starting his podcast, which is the original Certain POV show. And he invited me to come along to his show. And the thing that we talked about was, and it was like a nerdy podcast at first. And we talked about the top 5 best action films in comic book movies. And I had so much fun doing that. And it's just a bunch of us just having a good time talking about the things we love, And then since then, little by little, I kept appearing on the show. And then, that's when at first Audie was telling me, oh, hey, you should start doing like videos, put it on YouTube, which I did. And that's how the Real Movie Critic got started. And I got my logo and everything, which was going fine, But then, I was talking with Audie. I was like, you know what? I think it would be better if I do a podcast, And I didn't want to do this alone either. And Audie says, you know what? Let's start it together. And that's how we all got started. And I think it was the year, was it 2019? No, maybe 2018. Around that time. Actually, it was 2019. That's where we got started. Yeah. Because we were Real Movie News and Reviews for a year, and then we changed. Yeah, in 2020. That's right. Okay. So, sorry, I was thinking about my dates.
No worries.
And then, as you know, the rest is history. And, I do give a lot of appreciation to Audie Thomas by getting my foot in the door. And if it wasn't for him, it probably would never have happened. That's for sure.
Hey, it takes all kinds, and you follow all kinds of people.
Exactly. And that's how I met Case, through that as well. And all the other people at the Certain POV network just came right after that. So
yeah, it's a great network. I'm always happy to do anything with your all's network whenever I can.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. And we're expanding still, man. We just added a new show and just meeting new people. And I like that. I love the networking in that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like right now, we're kind of at a nexus, so to speak, of movies, because you not only you have movies coming out in the theater, you have movies coming out in streaming just about every week on several different streaming sites. So what's your criteria for choosing a movie to talk about? Because you don't do just like the big movie that comes out, you do the streaming movies too most of the time.
Yeah, and I think this year a lot, because a lot of the films do go on streaming. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix has been banging out movies almost every week with that. And, and me and Steve is like, do you think this is worth talking about? And obviously we do check. Two things we do, especially on Netflix, is who's in the movie, because we think that's a big deal. And if the movie is pretty good critical wise, it's either one of those two that is worth mentioning, because the last 2 weeks since we started recording today, we talked about the film Beckett, which was okay film.
I thought the same thing.
And then the week before we saw the movie Sweet Girl, and honestly, that movie was not good. And the only reason we watched it because of Jason Momoa, right. And things. Honestly, Netflix movies haven't been that great, at least this year. I just can't remember top of my head. But we also watched a Hulu movie, Vacation Friends, too, which turned out to be actually pretty good.
I've been wanting to watch that. I saw it came out this weekend. I've been wanting to watch it.
It's actually pretty funny. I actually laughed.
And I think that's the thing, is like something like Vacation Friends or Sweet Girl or even Beckett. Like all three of those movies in any other year probably would have came out in the theater. And would it have been different, like seeing it in the theater with a big crowd and audience? Like, because Beckett was pretty slow, but like in the theater, setting where the other people were in there and you feel the suspense building, like it might have been something different. And Vacation Friends could have been a rip roar or what have you. Have you been feeling that kind of I don't want to say fatigue, but like notion as in like some of these movies that you're watching at home on streaming are not hitting the same way as if you were in the theater?
Oh, I see. Yes. And I would even say that for a good movie. Here's the thing about watching at home, and I know some people love it. All right. But me personally, I get too distracted watching at home.
Oh yeah.
That's my issue. And like I said, even with a good movie, and sometimes when I'm at home too, I tend to fall asleep too. Like with the film Reminiscence, which is also on theaters and HBO Max. And the movie was terrible to begin with, so maybe that's why. But I fell asleep like 3 times, and I had to rewind the movie. So it definitely is. And there's something about going in the theater where your attention is on the movie. And, and obviously, because like, let's just say like Black Widow, for example, I knew I had to watch it in the theater. That's for sure. That was a must. And another film that we had a choice to, The Suicide Squad, I decided to watch it in the theater as well. And I just think there is some films that really are designed to watch in the theater. Like, for example, and this is also part of the episode that you were on with us, The Quiet Place Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
Where John Krasinski said that the reason they really postponed it because they really wanted it to put it in the theaters, And when I watched Wonder Woman 84, I kind of lost focus, And obviously because it was Christmas time, I was with my family too, but...
but you know what? I'm pretty sure that movie wasn't good enough to hold anybody's attention. Like, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. I still kind of give it the benefit of the doubt, but the blame goes to, who,
Yeah.
and things, I'm not going to say the name, but yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yep, I do. So when you're preparing for recording, like what is it, how does that all process go? Because I don't want to say it's heavily scripted, but it is scripted. Like there are certain parts that you want to get out, that you have little skits and stuff like that. But like, so how much of prep time do you usually put into each episode?
Structurally, we definitely plan out for the week, at least definitely for the news and trailers that we're going to talk about. That's for sure. There's sometimes, Steven puts like a news link and I look it up. I was like, you know what, let's not do this because either A, it's a rumor and I don't like talking about rumors, or
neither do I.
Yeah. And B, it's not going to be something we're both going to watch. Neither one of us are a big fan of horror, and anything about horror, if neither of us are going to watch it, then why bother talking about it?
True.
Of course, not to throw Steven on the bus, but sometimes Steven says, well, maybe the other people want to see it. But I was like, yeah. But then we talk about it, and then they expect us to talk about the movie when it comes out, and I don't think that's fair,
Right, and you should have like a good knowledge of it if you're going to be talking about it, and if it's not one of the movies that you care to watch, how are you going to have a good knowledge of it, right?
Exactly, and there's been some times too where there's a film that Steven wants to watch, but I don't, so that's why we have our brief reviews in there too. Normally, brief reviews are what I watch on DVD. The movies that I miss, but lately it's been that way. The movies that neither my co-hosts don't want to watch. We talk about it, and we made a deal too that because for some odd reason Steven wants to watch the Halloween movie, which I don't, and and then I really want to watch the Scream movie, the sequel that's coming out, and he doesn't. So that's how it goes too. But when it comes to the goofiness and things of that nature, for the most part, is improv.
Oh, okay.
Like my reactions sometimes are actually real reactions. and I like it that way because I think you do get a genuine reaction from me. That's why I enjoy to be surprised,
Okay.
But sometimes I have to tell Steven, okay, let's not go too far, with things. He did a thing about turning Mickey Mouse into a Nazi, and I was like, okay, is that really necessary, But, sometimes, you can see the difference between our creativity for sure. And as I said, I decided to join in on a few fun things as well. I don't do as much impressions, but one thing I did tell Steven is instead of using characters from movies, unless we're talking about the movie, let's create some new characters, That way we don't get sued, as a joke goes, and things, because there was a time Pennywise the Clown was like his thing. And I'm like, okay, this is getting old. Or at least turn the character to somebody different. For example, Pete Davidson, which by the way, is a terrible impression from him, but, but we decided to turn him kind of like, not, I don't want to say servant, but kind of like our errand guy,
There you go.
But yet, he's still kind of has a rebellious side on him, especially against me. And so that's how it goes, And so it's kind of like how can I say, kind of like a sitcom in a way,
Right.
In a way, featuring Pete Davidson. So, but I swear we're gonna get sued by him one of these days. But but yeah. So especially during the spoiler elevators, that's definitely improv for the most part. Obviously, I think Steven does have a plan of what he's gonna do. Right. But I told him, all right, surprise me. And then I tell him too, it's like, hey, let me get this elevator. I'm going to do something fun. So, and things.
Did before this, did you have any like improv background or stage, acting background?
I have done some stage action, actually with Steven too.
Oh, okay.
Back in our days in Boston, we just to share a funny story with that. So we were doing a little skit for the church we both went to. It was about a gang life, life in the gang and stuff like that, And so I played a shot caller, and I went all out. I literally shaved my head, try to look, really gangsterish, And Steven was kind of like a guy trying to get in, right? And so when we were practicing, and he could attest to this, there was a part where I was supposed to like kind of choke him, right?
Mhm.
But during practice, Steven says, "Oh, hey man, you're choking me too hard. Can you just relax for a minute?" And I was like, "Okay, I will." Until the day of the performance, I decided to choke him for real.
Oh, jeez.
and so and then afterwards I was like, I told him, "Hey Steven, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to give that good effect." And he's like, no, it worked, you know. And so that's exactly what we did. And that was a fun drama thing that we did. A friend of mine wrote the play for that, and of course both of us were part of it. It was fun. And yeah, I think that's kind of like what started us. We both like to perform, that's for sure. With many different things. And there's something about performing too, where when you immerse yourself in the character, it's not you, it's you acting.
Right.
And I like that, and yeah, and actually when we did Corona Classics too, we did a weekly promotion videos as well, because we had time to do that. And at first it started like innocent, and then it got crazier and crazier and crazier. But it was a lot of fun until things ended. When we finally had to go back to work.
Right.
So, but yeah, they're still on YouTube. You could definitely check it out there. At least in my website, if you YouTube Real Movie Critic, you could definitely check them out. That's for sure. And yeah, we do like to act. That's for sure.
Well, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
So, I mean, do you have to put yourself in a state of mind, a certain state of mind before you turn on the recorder, before you jump online to record with Steven?
For the most part, no.
No.
But it's funny when things are scripted, then yes, I do. But I just know that I'm just having a conversation with my friend.
Okay.
That's really what it is, and that's how I approach it with everybody else. It's just, hey, we're just having a conversation, And for me, I don't need any much prep time for that, in that case. Obviously, we have the structure and we know what's happening next, but it's really just us having a conversation with things. And yeah, sometimes we get off a little tangent, kind of get off subject, and I think that's the fun part of it, and then try to revert back to what we were talking about. But I'm sure in a lot of podcasts that's happened. So,
yeah.
And but yeah, that's the way I feel how it goes. I and both of us, I think we could attest to this. We both go with the flow. That's for sure.
Now, listening to your show, I would have to say one of your other passions would end up being music as well. Is that not true?
I do like my music. Yes. The funny thing, it all started just to annoy Steven, and then that's how it all started. And you're talking about always my, how I say, kind of like give a shout out to rappers,
Yep.
Yes. Yes. It just started out to annoy Steven. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a thing because this will finish, because I have a list. I have a full list, but it's just growing up in the 90s, especially in the late 90s, which I'm just giving myself my age already. Hip hop was one of my favorite music genres growing up. Now I have a taste for everything. But yeah, and it's just funny how things just go. It starts off just to annoy somebody and it turns to something big, But yeah, I don't mind talking about music, And the certain POV show, we don't have too many music shows per se. Technically, Autograph started off as a music thing, but I think it just turns out to be an interview show.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it was chords, right?
Yes, it was Crash Chords, and then now
Crash
it's just
Chords,
CPOV Autographs, which, by the way, Matt Storm is a great interviewer. I just got to add that.
He is. He really is, yeah.
And I did hear your episode too. Great episode. And I was in that too. And so, but yeah, no, it's, I just thought I'd just add a little something that you don't hear with the rest of the network. That's for sure.
So then, like, what are some of your other fandoms? What are some of the things that you usually are very passionate about?
Well, another thing, and I don't really talk too much about it. I am a big sports guy too.
Now, see, I noticed that off of your social media, not so much off your podcast.
Yeah, fair enough. But honestly, the sports things is actually my career right now.
Okay.
As an athletic director and a PE teacher, that's what led to my passion of sports and stuff. I used to play both varsity basketball and soccer when I was in high school, and at first I always wanted to work for ESPN. That was like one of my dreams. And obviously, life happens and things of that nature. But hey, I love teaching. I love working with kids. I'm for the most part, I work it with high school students, and I love it. And just being a teacher in general, just being there for these students, especially the new job I got now, where most of these students actually cross the border from Mexico to study. I really feel like I could really play a big part with them, and that's the whole point of this mission school. And that is a passion of mine as well. And that's always me working with the youth has always been a big passion of mine as well. And it's great because they kind of relate to you when you do talk about like Spider-Man or, or, something of that nature, and that's kind of like how you break the ice with them, And
that's what I was about to ask. I was about to ask, like, how often does your vast movie knowledge come into play when you're dealing with kids?
Oh yeah. I don't do it too much, because the last thing I want to do is talk about rated R movie. And then next thing you know, the parents come at me. Yeah. But at least, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, for sure. What else? Anything for that age, for sure. I can't bring up Game of Thrones to them, or something of that nature. But and same with sports too. It's always a good conversation starter as well. But yeah, when I decorate my office and stuff, and I put in my things, and they ask about it. Oh, hey, you like this? I was like, yeah, I'm a big fan of it. And that's how things get started. So,
do you ever bring up the fact that you have a podcast in class?
I kind of, yes. It's just that sometimes the content we talk about, I don't think it's age appropriate for them. Mm-hmm. That's why personally, it depends on what it is. Mm-hmm. And that's why in our show, that's why we have a no cursing policy and things for that reason, because, parents got to parent.
Right. Yeah.
Nowadays, you just can't get away from that. But mostly what I do is I promote is after when the seniors graduate. That's when.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think that's the safe spot, to do that. And, but when it's come to students, I try not to do it too much. All right. Unless they ask.
Right.
So, but in all seriousness, they could Google me and they'll find me. and usually that's how the questions start,
And that makes all the sense. And plus makes sense to keep the show PG or PG-13 so that when they do look you up, it's okay.
Yeah, it's really for that reason. That's the biggest reasons why. And I know me personally, I try not to, have a dirty mouth for that reason as well, because of my profession.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it is when you have that talk. Sometimes it will slip out at the worst time. I do believe that. so I try to keep myself when it comes to my language to do that. And I've been pretty good at it for like the past 10 years, if you ask me. So.
I mean, yeah, obviously that is a big struggle for someone that has to work with kids. Just you have to keep your social media in check. You have to make sure what you're posting is appropriate all the time. I don't envy you. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know some people probably don't understand, but not everybody could do my profession. That's for sure.
that is absolutely correct. So what about, okay, so when you're watching all these movies and you bring up Game of Thrones, does that mean you're also putting in the time on TV shows?
Lately, yes.
Okay, what are we watching?
So I actually currently I'm watching The Sopranos, which I never really got to watch, but thanks to HBO
wow.
Max, I could. And all because the new movie that's coming out in October,
Mhm.
The Many Saints of Newark.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch The Sopranos, and it's a pretty good show. For the most, it's a little dated, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's very interesting. That's for sure. Also, currently, I am watching for once Cobra Kai. Finally,
Okay.
I'm already on season 3. So, and the main reason is because part of our show too, we do sparring screens, and that's because we started talking about TV shows
Uh-huh.
for that reason. But we talk about TV shows that are canon to the films that it represents.
Oh, nice.
And the reason we started that is because ever since The Mandalorian, came out after season 2 and how great it was, and I was just talking to Steven, dude, we need to talk about some of these shows. That's for sure. And Steven agreed, especially with the Marvel shows coming up. And that was our first sparring screen episode was WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven did one for the Mighty Ducks. I just didn't have time to watch Mighty Ducks Game Changers. A future episode, we're actually going to talk about Monsters Inc. Monsters at Work.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be coming out soon. Or if it's not there already when this gets out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because now the shows are actually pretty good, that they're coming out with. Because of the Bad Batch, because of that, I decided to start watching the Clone Wars and Rebels at the same time during that show coming out. And I'm glad I did. And, I usually call myself a casual Star Wars fan, but a lot of people are telling me, okay, you watch the Clone Wars and Rebels? No, you're a fan now. And I'm like, yeah, now I know what I'm talking about, or now I know what y'all are talking about. Now I get it, And so, yeah, I just got into the dark side, I guess.
Yep. As Steven would say, Disney's coming after all your money.
A lot of people are saying that.
But you're absolutely right. Disney Plus and HBO Max are doing all they can to get all the IP to tie in between TV shows and movies now. Like we got they just announced Black Canary with Journey to Mullet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a spinoff from Birds of Prey. Like those are going to be two tied in together.
Yeah. The other show from Suicide Squad, the Suicide Peacemaker show. Yeah, we definitely have to watch that now.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then there's going to be the Gotham PD show that's going to spin off from the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much that show gets running on that. That's for sure. But yeah, that's why we started that too. So yes, I'm definitely watching TV shows, and you could thank Marvel for me to really get on that, and Star Wars too, I guess. It's funny. I didn't want to get involved with The Mandalorian, but a friend of mine decided to watch it. I started watching it, and I just got hooked.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I would say that I'm also the casual Star Wars watcher, and yeah, The Mandalorian was probably the biggest hook for me at the moment, other than Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was amazing.
Yeah, no, at least the movies, I respect it. You know what? And I kind of need to rewatch at least the prequels after watching Clone Wars. Maybe I have a better understanding of it now. Maybe I would like it better. I never liked it before. I always thought they were too boring, but who knows?
What are you looking for the rest of the year? What are you looking forward to in movies?
Well, man, all of a sudden we come for the year with no Marvel movies, and now they're coming in bunches.
Right? We got Shang-Chi right around the corner.
Yes.
Literally a couple steps.
Yes, we do. And then the Eternals movie, which I think that's Marvel's biggest risk since Guardians of the Galaxy, but I still think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Just different. Mm-hmm. And obviously Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so I'm all for it, even though I hate the fact that they're still with Sony. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion.
And speaking of Sony, we got Venom 2 coming out.
Oh, yeah, that too. Although there's rumors that they might postpone it, but
yeah, there's the rumors that they were, but then I guess today on their Twitter, they restated that it was going to come out October 15th. So We'll see.
Fair enough. I didn't like the first Venom movie.
Neither did I.
But Carnage is definitely one of my favorite storylines. So I don't know.
Are you a big comic book fan? Did you read a lot of comic books?
Back in high school and especially in college, yes, definitely. I had roommates that were huge comic book people, and I used to read once they were finished.
Mm.
That's how it really got started with my love for Marvel. That's for sure. But really, my love for Marvel was really because of the movie, starting with the first Spider-Man movie. I'm talking about the Tobey Maguire one.
Nice.
That's what really got me started on it. So I was kind of like a late bloomer into that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. But man, just going on these, groups, whether it's on Facebook or other places, I learned a lot because of those groups about everything, And yes, and now I'm not the type of person that's saying watch a movie and be like, oh, that didn't happen in the comics. No, that's not me. There is a difference between comics and movies. Yes, some of us have to accept that as long as it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But usually before a film comes out, I usually try to read the comics that it's based on. I try to.
Mm-hmm.
And things. Just lately, I was on an episode of Comics Quest with JD Martin and our network. He said, hey, you want to join me? I was like, sure. What do you want me to read? And we read Batman Gothic, which was early 90s. And I was like, okay, he might have to give me time to read it. But as soon as I started reading it, I finished it in like 2 hours.
Nice.
So I was hooked. I was like, oh, this brought me back, and we had a good conversation on that recording as well. And so do I read as much? No, not as how much I used to, but it'll be good to get back to it. If
But
I
still a
have the
big
time.
fan.
Yeah. I respect it. That's for sure.
So what's your character? Who's your character?
Character as in like
Your comic book character. Who's the someone says, what's your favorite comic book character? What's the one that pops into your head first?
That's always a tough question. That's like asking a parent who's your favorite child. But but there is one. And some people might be surprised by this answer, but honestly, this was my first hero since I was a kid, and that is Batman.
Yeah, there it is, Batman.
Yeah, people will think I would pick a Marvel character because I talk about Marvel so much and I trash DC so much. But no, DC actually makes good comic stories. Okay, let me put that on the record. But Batman has always been a story I always admired. I'm not one of those fans that are so obsessed with Batman that think he could beat Superman in hand-to-hand combat. I'm not that type of fan. I'm definitely more realistic in that standpoint. But it's just his stories and the darkness that comes with his stories, and I think it's relevant for today. And especially his villains are very iconic as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Batman and Spider-Man has the most iconic villains. That's for sure. In my personal opinion. But yeah, there's some, even though Joker's being overused a lot, but I keep saying there's some other good villains out there that y'all could use. I still want to see a good Penguin story, which
that would be great.
Maybe we might get that. We'll see. It seems like every villain's in this new Batman movie that's coming out, but
oh, no kidding. No kidding.
So that's why I'm still a little skeptical. But yeah, no, it's just some of the Batman stories are really, really good. And yeah, sometimes I always watch when the animated shows comes out. I always love to watch that too.
Oh yeah, the animated movies for DC are pretty spot on.
Yeah. The most recent one I saw was Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. That was like, my goodness. It's like, I never thought this would happen. And lo and behold,
here we are.
And it's actually a pretty good movie. I hate the animation, but it's actually pretty good.
So then what's your favorite comic book movie?
Oh, man, that's another tough question, man. This may sound cliched. All right. But to me, it has to be Avengers Endgame. All right.
I mean, it's a good movie. It's a great movie. So it's understandable. That's the one you went to.
And every time I rewatch it, especially the final battle scene, and it's always happened since I first saw it, tears actually do come out of me. and in the main, and it's not because, spoilers, by the way, Tony Stark dies.
What?
It's really because when I look at this, when I see that final battle, it's like, this is what a comic book movie should be. That right there. And I remember telling myself, I was like, I don't think Marvel should make any more films. This is it, But then Spider-Man Far From Home came out, and I was like, okay, all right, I see where y'all going now. I'm in again. Let's go. But for a while, I was saying that, Marvel needs to stop. This is it. You can't get better than that. But no, Marvel has a plan, though. And watch Loki if you don't know what I'm talking about.
There you go.
But yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great comic book movies. There's a lot of terrible ones too. But I do have appreciation for the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, because that's what got me into it too. So for that, I always appreciate for it.
So let's start a little bit of internet war. What's the least favorite? What's the worst comic book movie?
Some people will disagree with me, but two come to mind. One is Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Oof. That's a bad movie.
That I don't know what that was, and I'm surprised Idris Elba was in that. It makes sense for Nick Cage to be there, but Idris Elba really. But yeah, that was bad, and
it was still the beginning of his career. Yeah.
Exactly, you knew it was bad from the trailers. You knew it was going to be horrific, but the other one, and this is where people really argue with me, but I'm a big Punisher fan. Before certain people ruined that logo. Punisher Warzone, I really did not like.
Oh, it's such a bad movie.
Yeah, but people love it. They saying it's so bad it's good. And I'm like, no, Punisher is better than this. All right. Thank God for John Berthel. Like, seriously. But it was bad. I didn't think the acting was that good either.
I mean, I always think about two things. I think about that movie when I went and saw it in the theater. The beginning part when he uses the heat-seeking missile or like RPG to hit the dude that's doing parkour.
That was funny.
And then there's the scene at the end when he grabs the girl out of the high chair and runs with her, but you could tell it's a doll. Like the legs don't move. It's so bad.
Or how he punches one person and his head explodes.
Yep. Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Those are two great examples of bad comic book movies.
Yeah, I don't know what people were thinking when they made these. That there is a few more. You could make a case for Elektra or even Batman versus Superman, but though these two are just worse, a lot worse. So.
Yeah, because over there on Journey into Mystery, one of our other shows, we've been doing, like, we started off doing all the Marvel Studios movies, all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and then after we got past those, we started doing all the Marvel movies that aren't part of the MCU. So most recently, we did Elektra, and I was like, I hadn't seen that since the theater, and I was like, I remember why. Like, this is a bad movie.
It wasn't that bad as people say, but it wasn't great either.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, would you have Jennifer Gardner going out there and being like, the only reason I'm doing this movie is because I'm contractually obligated? Like, it's just,
pretty much,
it's bad.
Pretty much. And you could tell, and things. I mean, yeah, it's just one of those films. It's like, you know what? I don't hate it as much as most people do, but yeah, this is forgettable.
What is your number one genre for movies?
Well, definitely comic book movies. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Another genre. I'm sorry.
But now, what about like before, when you were younger? Like, comic book movie wasn't a big thing until probably like 2001.
Yeah,
so
X-Men.
Before that, yeah.
And even then, don't forget, we got the Schumacher Batmans, but
we did.
I couldn't say that with a straight face, but
thank you. I mean, we had Blade in 1996, I want to say. And
no, I think definitely later than that. I think it's 99.
Was it 90? No, it was somewhere around there. 98 then.
Yeah,
maybe?
around there. But oh man, I rewatched Blade. And I was like, oh gosh, the CGI is terrible.
Yeah.
Even though
Some
I
of that
still love
CGI
Wesley
is
Snipes though as Blade, he's still
Oh
great.
yeah.
But obviously there's a lot of genres I do enjoy. Obviously a good action flick is always good in my book. Back when I started growing up, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger still.
Oh yeah, that 80s 90s
yeah.
action star. Come on.
Sylvester Stallone, and these are the films I watched with my dad.
Mhm.
And Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Big Van Damme fan.
Yeah, any of those three was a guaranteed watch for me. Even though I'm not supposed to watch it at that age, but yes, I did. I mean, Bloodsport is definitely a great movie. That's for
Oh yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah.
And I recently watched The Karate Kid as well, and I was like, you know what, this is a good movie.
Yo, I watched The Karate Kid like at least once a year.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good movie. The sequels, not so much. Although second and third, I was like, okay. The fourth one, I forget about it. But yes, a good action movie. I tend to do enjoy, and I like the good action, like not the CGI action. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because they put in a lot of work. I was a huge Bad Boys fan as well. All three of them, and
that third one came back, and that third one was so good. I was so happy with that.
It is, but I'm a fan of all three of them. And I'm a big Will Smith fan as well, and so yeah, action is definitely up there. And I think a good third that I do enjoy watching is a good mob movie as well. But there hadn't been great ones as of late. The Departed technically is a mob movie.
Yeah.
And of course, me being from Boston, that was huge for us. And things. Now, a lot of movies are set in there nowadays. So
yeah. So here's the tough one.
All right.
Top 5 movies of all time.
Oh my gosh.
Put you on the spot.
My goodness, that is a hard question. It really is. I mean, there's so many great movies out there. With that, I guess it's fair to say I would definitely add Avengers Endgame up there.
Okay.
That's for sure. Hands down. But the rest, man, that's a tough question, man. It really is. Man, I'm just thinking right now in the catalog of all the films that I have watched and all that. Man. Okay, The Matrix always is in my heart. That's for sure.
Okay.
I think that was at the time a groundbreaking film. That's for sure.
You excited about the fourth one?
I need to see a trailer.
Okay, that's fair. That's completely fair.
I need to see a trailer. And here's the thing about Keanu Reeves. I know everybody loves him. I always think he's like the worst actor in great movies.
You know what? Many of actors have made their career that way, and that's fine.
For sure. But man, I'm still thinking Up for sure. That's my favorite Pixar movie, and I do love Pixar movies. And I think Up is one of the best out of all of them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you don't cry in the first 8 minutes, you have no soul. That's for sure. Remember the Titans is definitely one of my favorite sports movies.
Oh, that's great. Remember the Titans is amazing.
That's 4 I mentioned, did I?
Yeah.
And The Departed.
Okay.
I think it's the only time the Oscars got it right.
That is a super good one. So any advice you'd want to give to anybody that wants to start up a podcast?
It takes a lot of dedication. And if you can do it, then do it. Follow your passion. But remember that everything with a passion does come with work. Everything's not going to be given to you.
Mm-hmm. So
you definitely have to work for it. And always keep yourself with an open mind when you're doing it and use it as a chance to meet new people. That's how me and Mitch met.
That's right.
And, it's great. It's great. But keep yourself with an open mind. That's for sure. And if you keep working at it, if you have a passion for it, then good things will come. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can go and listen to The first time I was on Hans's show on Zack Snyder's Justice League, our big 4-hour epic that we recorded between all 4 shows. Yeah.
That was fun, though. I had a lot of fun there, even though it was like 4 hours. And I was in Vegas when we recorded that.
That's right. You were. You were on vacation.
Yeah. But no, I had a lot of fun, though. That's for sure. It's just funny. All of us were hating on it except for Steven.
Steven was the only one. And if it felt like he had to defend himself as much as he was defending that movie. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I think you just went out of the corner and started being in a catatonic state. Like, I swear that's what happened to him. And he still stands by it too. That's the funny part,
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
All right.
It's a question that I ask whenever I remember it. So here we go. If you could have one useless superpower and it has to be completely useless, what would it be? Now, the example I usually give out is that my useless superpower would be I can grow the hair on top of my head exactly 1 inch, but that's it.
Wow, that's funny.
Yep.
Useless power. Let's see. Every time I think of something that's useless, actually, I'm thinking, oh, no, that might be a good power if you use it right.
See? So, it's a little difficult.
It is a difficult question. I would say that I could change my voice to sound like another person for like 5 seconds. How about that?
Enough just to say hello, and that's it.
Exactly. If I could say hello like Lawrence Fishburne, then I think I'll try, and see where it goes. Or just be like Samuel Jackson for like a good 5 seconds,
You get out only mother out of that, and then the rest of it would be your own voice. Mother of
there it goes. But it'll still be kind of fun. So
this has been great. Thanks for coming on the show and talking to me.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a blast.
I also say that I'm in the same boat as you, and I would rather see the next Scream movie instead of the next Halloween movie. So that's a big thing for me too. Where can people find you online if they don't already know?
Well, if you definitely want to catch our podcast shows, we are part of the Certain POV network. So just type in certainpov.com. And we also have a link to our Discord as well, which we definitely are. Me and Steven are definitely part of that Discord. Like when we do our fight nights and things, kind of like our simulated fights that we let the fans vote on the winner. And then we create a story on that. You could definitely vote on that. That's been a fun thing we've been doing for almost a year. And but you could also catch my blog at realmoviecritic.com. It's a spoiler-free blog. I decided to go spoiler-free ever since Avengers Endgame. And yeah, you could just check it out and read what I have to say. And, you make your decisions from there. So you could definitely subscribe on that as well. And, for the boomers out there, I am on Facebook at Real Movie Critic. You could like me there. Also, you could also follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RealCritic34, and real as in REAL.
There you go. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, I'm at Mitchipedia GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. The rest of Geek Elite Media is at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out archive episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network on our website, geekelitemedia.com. And whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network.
For sure. Do it.
But until next time, this is Hey Mitch on the Geek Elite Media Network saying, always remember to
geek out.
Geek out.
This concludes our broadcast.